me, one of the key benefits is the kids are going to be working with something that they actually have their hands on all the time. And going down to Mooresville, North Carolina, seeing some of the things that they do and how they do it themselves there, I was able to see, for some reason, whatever reason, this appeals to them. They love this. And as a history teacher, a guy who teaches social studies, I know my subject's not always the most exciting. And for whatever reason, the opportunity I had to see kids do those type of things, they were all over it. They loved it. I had kids that when I was down there in North Carolina, they were looking up things all over the place about France, about Italy, different places in Europe and different places in the world, just on a simple geography assignment, and they were all over it. They ate it up.
Getting with the times and allowing education to be relevant to the world that students live in, and also get to play with cool gadgets as a teacher. And if I'm excited about it, the students will be excited about it too.
Information in the sciences is always changing, and sometimes I feel like I can't keep up with the changes that are taking place. The new information and things in genetics are just yearly different, and so the minute I stick to one curriculum or one textbook, the minute it's outdated. And so my challenge is keeping current and keeping updated with the newest scientific technology and information. And so having resources, digital resources at my fingertips and the kids' fingertips, the students' fingertips, will really enhance that piece of the puzzle. And I won't be solely responsible for finding out what's new, but the kids can now be involved in finding out what's new.
Well, there's a big piece of me who's so old school and so history and so dusty book that it's like, scary, because it's kind of making me feel, wow, this was something that we dreamed of and watched in cartoons, but now it's becoming more and more of a reality for us in education and in the classroom for the kids. So to me, it means, part of it means, obviously change, transition, but the other piece means advancement. And as I look at things, I try not to equate things to just pop culture and science fiction, but so often the things in our past that were science fiction have become reality in our future. And as we progress, you can see that digital technology is not going away. It's not something that's going to disappear overnight. It's not just this fad. It's a big part of our life, our society. I mean, they call this the information age. And digital technology is a big piece of that. So the integration and involvement in the classroom only seems natural. It only seems second nature. And so I think it's going to be more and more important as we progress as a country and a society. You're going to see it all over the place.
I think ride the wave is a theme that was buried in a lot of what we learned, because the technology is always changing and it can be overwhelming as a teacher, as a relatively young teacher. And so I can imagine what parents might be feeling trying to keep up, and more technologies on the horizon. And riding the wave, I think, is a theme that was buried under a lot of the presentations and material we learned. Just do the best you can with what you know, go with the flow, and know that it's for the benefit of the students, and that it'll probably change in another 4 years. And that's okay, because we're trying to stay with the times and be relevant.
I've learned that it's time for me to get off the stage and to stop being the sole provider of the information, and to stop spoon-feeding the students the information. And it's time for the students to step up and take a more active role in their learning, to take more ownership for their learning. And so I can be there directing them. They're not going to be out floundering around on their own, but yet they'll have more of an active role. And the resources that we've learned about over this last year throughout our professional development are great tools to be able to teach me how to coach the kids to take ownership for their learning.
Is, for whatever reason, the technology, the excitement of it, the imagery, the visualization, however you want to say it, it appeals to them. It captures their mind, it captures their heart, and it sparks that key in their imagination that makes them open up and say, hey, well, what really caused this to happen? How does this relate to that? And that's key to social studies, because it's about connections. So whatever it is that does that, I think digital technology involved in the classroom has a piece of that. And when you get a kid to love things, it's easy for them to learn it.
For me, there's two things. The Glow Bible, which is software that takes the Bible and makes it pop. It comes alive. It is not just the text on paper, ink and paper or print and paper, but You actually can zoom in on a timeline of Bible characters. You can do tours of the Bible land. You can walk through, and I did this, the whole tabernacle, and you can see the golden lampstand, and you're walking around, it's like a video game, and you see the table show bread and the incense altar and the veil, and that makes the scripture come alive. And that's exciting for me, because my hope is that'll make the scripture more exciting for the student as well. And so that would probably be the thing, just to dive in more to Glow Bible. The second thing I mentioned too is the whole Google, since we're working with Haiku, which is our learning management system, and that's partnered with Google. Google's on the cutting edge, and so Google Docs, and I had to give the thumbs up, but I like to even use the social networking that Google has, because you're able to keep the confines. Google Plus, it's like Facebook, but in the Google realm. Just playing around with Google and the cutting edge technology, I'm looking forward to.
Well, I don't know if this answers your question or not, but one of the things that I'm so happy about with summer coming is the chance to organize my classroom digitally. I've learned about these tools, but I haven't had a chance to really sit down and make it happen in my own virtual world. So one of the things I'm looking forward to is less paper. There's a lot of paper exchange that goes on between the students and I, and notebooks full of handouts and lab work and papers. And so I think the digital conversion will really streamline things, and the students who deal with organizational issues, I think, are going to flourish. I think they're going to really excel, because having digital resources will cut down on all of the physical clutter that so many students struggle with.